Hi everyone! As you are playing Diablo 4, you might have come across some of those unique monster spawns that you can find out in the open world. If you don't know what I mean, maybe you remember from the open beta, the level 35 elite that everyone was farming for the high level drops, those kind of guys. There are actually a few of them in every zone. You can see one of them here right now. This is in Havazar in the northeast. This is Enkel, for example. And there are like 4 of them or so in each of the major regions, so around 20 of them in total. Now I don't have a full list of all of them just yet. I took a few screenshots here to show you this. So this is, for example, Priestess Jhin. This is in southwestern Kyrgyzstan, right below the main city. And she drops this item here, for example. And you can find these with a certain minimum level on the first 2 world tiers. So some of them are like level 20 monsters, some of them are like level 30, some of them level 40. But in the higher world tiers, these items actually start scaling up and they can drop as sacred and as ancestral, with all the way up to the highest item power levels. And not just that, but they can actually go beyond the typical item power cap. So if you look at this here, this is the haunted crossbow that you can find in Havazar from one of those rare spawns. And this one rolled 842. Now this is not my own screenshot, someone else linked this to me, but I have been farming this monster and I have been getting also other high level drops from other monsters. The highest I found myself was an 837 mace from Oscar Reed, from the Fractured Peaks guy. I don't really know exactly what is the cap on these items, but it is definitely higher than normal, because the normal highest item power, as far as I'm aware, is 820. I have not seen a regular item that rolls higher, and apparently these can roll at least 22 item power higher, probably something like 25, maybe even 30, so up to 850 or so, who knows. And like this, these rare monster spawns and their drops can actually be very important, especially for rogues, I think, because most of these items are pretty trash. Honestly, they have like really bad stats most of the time, and they only have 3 stats. So they have like a fixed selection of 3 stats, sometimes some of those that are even unavailable. For example, shadow damage doesn't exist on regular crossbows, and you see there's only 3 stats and then the sockets. So you give up 1 stat, but you gain potentially a much more powerful weapon. So especially for the rogues with the crossbows, this is actually a really good option here, because there are 2 really good stats and you can also roll them at the occultist. And since their sell value is basically nothing, they don't cost anything to roll. They cost like no gold to roll. So you can actually take this shadow damage and roll this to vulnerable or to crit damage. And you have 3 out of 3 really good stats for basically any rogue build. You can find this guy in particular here next to Vejin Hani in Havazar. This is right here. So here and there I just go and try my luck, especially on Torment difficulty. You can try to get like super high item power item. And I would say that at least for rogues, when you are playing like a ranged build, this is like a really powerful option. So going like 20 item power higher but losing 1 stat is a trade worth making in most cases. So for example, if you had like an 820 and like really best in slot 4 out of 4 stats crossbow, or you find an 840 with only 3, I would probably take the 840. So it's a pretty reliable source. Here's the guy. So you just blast him down, then there's like the second spawn, and you get this, and then you see the weapon drop here. So this is just a sacred one because I'm on world tier 3, but they can roll ancestral, they can roll all the way up to really high item power. Unfortunately, other classes don't really seem to have much choices here in terms of like good items. There are a few that also give like skill ranks, and they might be quite valuable, but for the most part I can only really identify this one item here as being like universally useful for a class at least. But there is also, I think, a guy that drops a 2-handed sword, there is a 1-handed mace, there is this offhand. I'm not sure if you have like a full map of all these rare spawns anywhere yet, but I know them basically just by heart, and you can try to find something that you like. I was going to prepare like an overview post for Maxwell, but I haven't had time to do that yet. But yeah, to give you a few pointers where these guys are, so the Priestess Jhin is here, and then we have, there's like a big scorpion somewhere next to the Iron Wolf encampment, and I think it's over here. Then you have a guy that drops a ring, he's like up here in the dunes on the left, next to Alcarnus. Then in the dry steppes we have like some demon here somewhere on the left. We also have one guy near Champion's Demise down here. And I think somewhere up here is like another guy, if I'm not mistaken. Then in Scotland there's like a vampire dude somewhere here. There is some werewolf around here, I believe. And there's like another guy that I really like to get on my way to Whispering Pines right here. Then in Fractured Peaks we have the mage that splits into 3 up there. We have the tree somewhere here next to Menestad. and we have Sir Lina there, and we have Oscar Reed here. And in Havezar, there's Enkel up there. Then there is some Captain Willocks, I think, somewhere here. Then there's this Endless Abomination up there. And I think there's like the Crossbow dude here on the left, so that's like the last one. I might have missed like 1 or 2 or so, but these are basically the rare spawns. They're always like in the same spot. They always drop the same item, but it can have varying item power ranges. And on top of that, they also are a really good source of monster parts. So what I'm talking about are these items here. And you need them for example, certain instances, for certain elixirs, for crafting your potion, and also in hardcore in particular. So they always drop 5 of one of these materials. So that's like a fixed drop. You can farm certain of these rare spawns for a certain material. And some of them also drop 1 of each. So they have like their own fixed drop tables in addition to those special items here. So yeah, these unique monsters can be quite valuable, especially for this crossbow here, but also just on the side to gather some of those materials that you might need for later when you craft some stuff for the alchemist. Maybe these items rolling a higher item power than normal is actually intended because they only have 3 stats. Most of them, as I said, are still relatively useless anyway. So it's a bit of a bummer, and we don't really have like the crafting tools necessary to forge them into something good, besides a few exceptions. I'll try to put together a full resource of each of those rare spawns, maybe with some screenshots and locations and all that. I don't have like a full catalog now, but I felt this was quite important to share. So here you go. In any case, good luck, happy hunting, and I'll see you guys next time.